We are joined by Coach David Adelman. Congratulations. A huge day for you, Coach. Way to go. How's it feel to be announced as the head coach of the Denver Nuggets?
It's nice to get it over with, to be honest. You talk to people, you go through the negotiation of it. You don't know what's going to happen when the season ends. So it's really cool to have the trust of ownership and feel like now you can actually go and organize and do something, productive for the organization going forward because, you're in a holding pattern when the season ends. So very excited to get going. There's multiple players here. It'd be a good thing to have those conversations and get people's expectations rolling for what we expect, coming back in September.
You said that you were going to reach out to C players. When you hitching a plane to Serbia, Coach?
Well, hopefully it's Belgrade. We'll definitely see Nikola at some point. It's a balancing act, as you guys know. And Scott, when you played, you need to give them space, but you also, have to keep communication constant. So I think as the summer wears on and I have conversations with people, slowly but surely, I'll get out there, see guys. And then for our younger guys, it's not about going and seeing them and the mental part. It's the physical part and what they're doing to make themselves better, to align with our system and what they can do to make our depth better. We feel like we have a lot of people in-house that can take those steps to making us a better playoff team next year.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, but first I got to say next year, welcome to the David Adelman show with us weekly. That'll be good. But I'm sorry you won't
number one ranked show, by the way.
Yeah, number one ranked show. But I know.
Well, just wait, guys. Now that I'm on it, we're gonna take steps in the right direction.
But I know you'll miss the trivia questions from Kaz before game, so we know that there. You talked about today, and I was excited when you said this because we talked about it once the season was over. Your roster and no draft picks and everything else, higher minds are going to have to deal with all of that. But you got guys, and you didn't mention names, but I will. Peyton Watson, I think, can be a player, but he's got to get stronger, and he's got to be able to finish in contact and everything. You can improve that in the summer. Julian Strother has got to be consistent. Now he feels contact and fades from a shot. He's got to do like Shea. He's got to create the contact and finish. Those are two giant keys from you right there. Automatically makes you better off the bench than you were this year probably.
I completely agree, and I think it's interesting. We're all prisoners of the moment, and we all see these players at what they just were 2 weeks ago. We all change in the next 3 or 4 months, and especially when you're young and, the resources these guys have. If they're professional about their approach this summer, and Scott, I would say this too, simplifying your game. I think everybody leaves in the summer and thinks they have to become a first-team All-NBA player. That's not the case. Simplification, mastering things that you can handle in games goes a long way. And what that does, that breeds trust. And you feel like you can trust somebody to be out there, whether it's finishing a game during the regular season, playing more minutes in the playoffs. But this is a huge 3 or 4 months for those guys. And like you said, putting the work in to get stronger is the number one goal. And I think skill set wise, like I said, simplifying and making things happen for yourself where, if I go right, this is what I do. I have one counter. If I go left, this is what I do. I have one counter. I have to be able to make a wide open corner three. Efficiency matters in our league, and especially when you're a role player off the bench. So got to see strides in that direction. I have to help with that. I have to give them, an outlook of the expectations of what we expect when they come back. I'm not just saying that because these guys are going to be back. We see things in them that could make us a better team. And the bottom line is we're not taking any steps, any direction more positive than this year unless those guys come back better. So that's on us to help them do that, and that's on them to have a professional approach this summer.
Coach, you're obviously around the previous regime, and I know you've got nothing but respect and probably nothing but love and gratitude. But how could we expect you, the protege, to look different than the previous regime?
Yeah, I think, when you work underneath somebody, your job is to complement their ideas. And, I think in the playoffs you saw a lot more variety defensively. We ran a lot of zones. I think that's something that's going to continue. It's something I'm into. I think it's good. I think it's important to kind of keep the better players in our league kind of off kilter a little bit. And it had an effect in the playoffs. We're going to keep going that way defensively. And I think offensively, I can't say blanket statements, but we have to take a deep look into why our execution's not good enough in big games. And, I think the year we won it was probably the highest point of execution we've had, and we could play at a slow pace and still win games. This year it was fun. We got up and down. We scored a lot of points. We're a top 5 offense, all those things. But when you get into a series against the Clippers with a bunch of grown men and OKC, who's, basically the greatest AAU team ever created, you have to be able to slow down and execute. And I think that's a step we're going to have to take this year. That's on me. That'll start in training camp. So whatever the ideas are that we come back with or we scrap that we've had in the past, the fundamental execution's got to get better. The physicality, the screening, the small things. And they showed up in those games we lost in the playoffs. So to answer your question, I think it's just a deep look into, how we've fallen off since we won the championship. How do you improve these small fundamental things? And, you have September, a little bit of October to improve on those things. And, all ideas are good ideas. I'm going to have to take a deep look at the staff, make sure we have, creative minds in that room. So when the guys come back, they feel like it's something new that they can grasp onto, improve and get better and hopefully, get past the round that we've been to the last 2 years.
David Adelman, newly minted head coach of the Denver Nuggets, joins us. You mentioned it on your presser. We've talked about on the show, and see if there's any correlation in this. You guys, you just talked about playing a little bit more zone, doing this. You got a big fellow that's at the top of his game, but he's still 7 foot and 290 pounds or 285 pounds. Doesn't the zone in season? We always talk about game management and rest management and all that stuff. Doesn't that give him a chance every once in a while if you play a little more zone in the regular season to rest a big fella, but yet be able to keep him out on the floor?
Yes, and that was, the idea of it, even in the playoffs, have to get him to 42 minutes, whatever it may be, was to try to use your timeouts the right way and then change up the defense. The other thing with the zone for us, Nicole is such a great captain back there. And, him pushing people around in a sense of pushing his teammates to the corner or seeing what the alignment was of the defense or the offense we're going against, showed me a lot. And when you have a guy like that, kind of shepherding everybody around, you feel confident to try different things. And so one part, yes, it's for him to rest a little bit. But the other part of it is I actually think we have high IQ guys that can do this and allows you to, have more variety in those situations. So I'm going to look at, all things. We tried a little 1-3-1 in the playoffs.
Yes.
We played some matchup zone.
I've never seen a 1-3-1 in the NBA. I swear to God, I saw that. I mean, what? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, we can get better at it. And, if I think the more looks you can give people and the more things you can master throughout the season, when you get to a playoff series, you have those things in your back pocket. And I think it's funny, too, is that people don't realize, San Antonio back in the day, they played man at the end of Tim Duncan's career, but really they were in a zone of sorts. Like Tim just played at the rim. He was in complete zone coverage right at the rim. He just kind of pointed people through. And like I said, if you have a guy with that high of an IQ like Nikola does, it allows you to try different things and keep people off balance.
You're in an episode of X-Files just for this question. The Scully and Mulder are on the case of this alien. This alien has a very strange set of skills. He can help an NBA coach set up his bench however he wants with the perfect skill set. And he comes to you, and you got to get this done before Mulder and Scully figure it out. What do you ask the alien for the perfect bench?
I think timely shooting. I think shooting is one thing, and guys can improve on that this summer. But, I think when you look at the playoffs right now and you look at our series against OKC, it stood out. Game 4, it was Caruso, Wiggins, Kason Wallace. Game 5, it was Dort. Game 6 was Julian Strawther. And I think that's something that you actually can learn to do over time, and it's how you work out in the summer. It's easy to go shoot 500 shots in a gym. I think I mentioned this in the press conference. Yeah. It's different to go and put pressure on yourself, and you have to develop that mentality. That not all work is equal. And these guys have to understand that because when you play with the best player in the world, for us to win a championship, it's going to come down to the other people. And the responsibility to make an open shot. I said this way too much in the playoffs, but I meant it probably because I have, mental scars from watching my father lose to the Lakers. But say what you want about Shaq and Kobe. I said this, Fox, Ori, and Fisher, That's what I remember from those years.
Yep.
I remember them making shot after shot in the biggest moments. And I think we have the guys that are capable of doing that. Not to answer your question so seriously, because X-Files is great. But it's a skill, man. And these guys have to understand that nothing's going to change next year in the sense of hopefully we're in those playoff games, we're in the big moments. But the same thing's going to happen. And you saw, I mean, you're watching the OKC Minnesota series. It's crazy.
Yep.
They're sending 3-4 people at these guys. And it comes down to the other people, stepping up and making big shots.
All right. Since the interim tag was put on you, 3 games left of the regular season, to today when it's official, and I'm sure you guys came to terms, a couple days ago, but best thing your dad said to you in that time frame?
Probably what I said when I called him and that morning. I woke up and had 40 missed calls. I had no idea what was going on, and I get the news that I got the job, at least on the interim basis. And before I went in to meet Josh and talk to him, he was the first person I called, my father, and his reaction, it was so classic him. He just kind of paused and just said, "Well, that's a good opportunity." And it was. I'll be honest. It's what I needed to hear because it said more than that. It said, "Just go be yourself." It's you. This is what you've been working for. And he's so great about that, man. Here's a guy that coached in the NBA, he's in the Hall of Fame, came so close to winning championships multiple times, and I would say throughout this whole experience, he's been nothing but calm and easy to talk to. Never brings up the team unless I bring it up. Always just asks about my kids. And when you have somebody like that, it's more than your father. It's an example of how to do this job and, how your mentality has to be day after day to be consistent with the guys you're coaching. So, yeah, I'll never forget that, the first conversation, after getting the news, and then just the ultimate support of a person that just acted like your father, not a former NBA head coach.
A little bit cooler to your kids nowadays?
No. No, you know what, man? I learned I wasn't cool with my kids 2 summers ago. My son started destroying me in Mario Kart, and I started realizing how old I was, man. I even tried to change, the settings. I figured it wasn't.
It's all about the drift, Coach. You got to get the drift in.
But I'm telling you, man, I can drift, and I took out every possible variable thinking that he was getting lucky, and he continued to just absolutely crush me. So, yeah, the coldness factor is definitely gone, but no, this has been cool for them. And I'll be honest, going through this as a kid, this is a lot. My kids are 9 and 11, and I think we forget what school was like no matter what you are, how old you are as a kid. Kids are kids, and you have to be mentally tough when you go to school. And we lose to OKC in Game 2 by astronomical amount of points. Your 11-year-old is going to answer questions at school about that. And, people don't understand that. Like, there is a mental thing for with your kids, but they've handled it really well. I went through it, and I told them, I said, it could be a lot worse. I saw my dad lose, 50 games before, and that was not fun going to high school every day. So, they're enjoying this, and it's cool to share it with them, and have these life experiences like I got to have. You're so lucky to be around it, and it's like nothing else. You're in the NBA locker rooms. You're around these players. It's been a cool experience to share with them.
Coach, we really appreciate your time. It's nice to know you own at least one suit, and we absolutely wish you the best. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you. And I'll be honest, I brought the suit to the arena, and I didn't try it on. I haven't worn it in like 2 years. I thought, oh, my God, I hope my neck hasn't gotten bigger or whatever. But, yeah, it still fits. Probably won't wear this thing again for another couple years.
Well, you can wear it for funerals, for formal occasions, for press conferences, and it's sort of – it kind of
when your daughter gets married in 15 years.
Yeah,
no, she's not. At this point, I hope she never gets married. But it's going to happen. So it's good to have a suit.
All right, we'll let you go. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
You got it.
Congratulations.